My name is Rachel Munzar. I was an English teaching assistant from 2019 to 2020, and I was placed in the South Moravian town of Kroměříž, and the schools that I was placed in were a nursing school and a veterinary school. It's really difficult to summarize the Fulbright experience. When people ask me, how was it, or what did you do, it's hard because it was such a fulfilling, fruitful experience. I would say overall it was definitely transformative, and one of the biggest words that comes to mind for me is authenticity. I felt a lot of authenticity in basically everything I experienced. Before I came to the Czech Republic, I had a few ideas for how to get involved in the community. One of my favorite ideas I had was to start a book club for my students specifically. And then my other idea was to have a baking club and to just like bake American food or Czech food and just cook all kinds of things with them so we could have some of that cultural overlap. Those clubs didn't end up working out, but I did end up having conversation clubs, which ended up working out really well. I would just, and every week I'd have a different topic and we would just discuss things with the students, and it was really successful and I really enjoyed it, and I think it was a really enriching experience, not just for them, but for me as well. So a usual workday for me would begin around 7 a.m. I would wake up and get ready to go to school. And then I walked to school. School started around 8 a.m. Then from around 8 to maybe 2 or 3 p.m. I'd be going in and out of classes. And then after school I'd maybe have a couple hours to go home and relax or prepare for my conversation clubs. Then I would go to my conversation clubs. Those were 4 times a week for me. And I would be there for a couple hours. And after that, I was able to go home and be able to have free time for myself and relax. When I was growing up and going to school here in the United States, there would be things like art classes and music classes offered for students, but I found that at the schools that I was at, and even just in the gymnasiums, there weren't really art classes or orchestra or band or any of those kinds of things. Those were considered outside activities, and so there were separate schools dedicated fully to that. If a student wanted to join a sports team or something, that would always be outside of the school. So I thought that was really interesting. Oftentimes, when I would be joining some kind of group, I joined a church choir and a church Bible study and things like that, when I would go into situations where I would interact with people and meet new people, I would get a lot of requests for English lessons. Even at school, some of my fellow colleagues, they would come to me and say, hey, I have this person that needs lessons, if you're interested, that's open there. I ended up actually tutoring about 3 or 4 kids weekly, and with one of the families that I tutored, I met them through church, and I would just meet them actually every Thursday, and then for payment they would actually give me dinner, and sometimes they would give me little gifts to thank me. And then for the other arrangement, I tutored my piano teacher's sons, so in exchange for her giving me lessons, I would tutor her sons in English, so that ended up working out really well. Whenever I needed to clear my head and just get space for myself, I would try to think of an activity where I could just be alone, and something I picked up while I was in the Czech Republic was running regularly. There was a really big garden near my apartment that I would go and run at whenever I had time. And another thing I liked to do was to practice piano, so I started taking piano lessons. I would just go to the dorms that some of my students were staying at, and they had a free piano there, so after my conversation clubs I would often practice there, and that was a really relaxing thing for me, so that was really nice. I think during the Fulbright grant period, it's really easy for people to overcommit to things. When I first came, we had the advice to say yes to everything, and I think that was brilliant advice for getting involved in the community and just finding experiences and everything. And I think especially at the beginning, that's really important for people to know that you're really interested in getting involved. My advice for future grantees is to try to get as involved as you can while setting boundaries.